How did this beautiful social media influencer end up dead at just 26 years old?
Houston police are investigating the death of a woman whose nude body was found on the side of the road. Police say a public works employee discovered the body off Red Hall Lane near I-10 at about 8 o'clock this morning. They say she had no visible injuries. The medical examiner will determine the cause of death and ID. The victim is described as a white woman in her early 20s. If you know anything about this, you're asked to please call HPD Homicide or Crime Stoppers.
New details on the death of Alexis Robinault, who goes by Alexis Sharkey, a 26-year-old Instagram influencer from Texas. Houston police confirm she was found dead without any of her clothes on around the 3-mile mark from her apartment, also near the Interstate 10 frontage road in northwest Houston. Investigators say she had no visible injuries on her body, and they're still waiting on the autopsy to determine how she died. The 26-year-old was found dead on the side of the road this weekend, just a few miles from her home. Her mother believes she was murdered, and her friends think it was someone who's close to her. They told reporters in the weeks leading up to her death, Sharkey confided in them, saying she was worried about someone close in her life. Police say there were no visible signs of any injury on her body, but they are still waiting on an autopsy to identify exactly how she died. Katie Johnston for CBS 11 News.
Friends, family, and thousands of followers left with questions after a social media influencer's body was found near a Texas highway this weekend. This is one of our top stories on 11alive.com right now as people wait for the results of an autopsy to learn what happened to Alexis Sharkey. One of Sharkey's closest friends spoke with our sister station in Houston.
She moved here in January and we met, within weeks of her moving here. She was always happy, always had a smile on her face. A lot of people looked up to her. She was just very, very positive. Loved being an influencer, as you can see.
Alexis Sharkey continues to gain followers as people leave condolences on her Instagram page. Some of the last photos she posted were to celebrate friend Tanya Ricardo.
She was actually at my house on Thanksgiving. We spent Thanksgiving together with my family. We had made plans Friday to get together Saturday. And the last time I spoke to her was Friday around 6 o'clock.
Tanya followed up with a group text Saturday morning.
Alexis would have been the first person to respond.
But no text from the 26-year-old and no posts on social media.
When we realized that her social media was not active for over 12 hours, you're like, okay. This is not right. I went to her apartment, knocked on her door.
When no one answered, Tanya called police. Friends filed this missing persons report Saturday afternoon, not knowing that hours earlier, just 3 miles west of her apartment, Alexis Sharkey was found dead. Her naked body spotted by a City of Houston Public Works crew.
Just threw her on the side of the road naked like garbage. I don't get it.
Houston police say there were no visible wounds on Sharkey's body.
Whoever did this we're going to find them.
Friends just created this GoFundMe page to help get Alexis's family from Pennsylvania to Houston. Alexis Sharkey was married, but KHOU has not been able to reach her husband for comment.
So we're all just very confused. We need answers. We're going to get them. No one gets away with something like this. No one.
And friends are planning to honor Alexis Sharkey this Thursday. They're organizing a public memorial at Buffalo Bayou Park. That's at 5:30 on Thursday evening.
Alexis Sharkey posted hundreds of photos and videos for her Instagram followers.
I cleansed my skin last night.
She tried out skincare products and demoed hair tutorials, all while giving followers a peek inside her glamorous life. But her mom, Stacey Robinault, says a phone call on Saturday from Alexis's husband of nearly a year changed everything.
What did he say to you?
He said that she's missing, that no one knows where she's at. And at that point, friends began to call as well. Everybody was frantic.
And new information this noon hour, a woman's body found this weekend identified as Alexis Robinault. She called herself a mentor on social media and had a popular Instagram account. Her nude body was found this weekend on the side of the road on Red Hall Lane in West Houston.
Police have not released a cause of death or any suspects yet, but Alexis's friends, all fellow social media influencers, say she feared for her safety.
I looked at her and I was like, she's petrified.
This girl is scared for her life.
Another friend told the Daily Beast that Alexis confided in her that she and her husband were having marital problems and that he had been putting hands on her. There were also reports she wanted a divorce. When social media erupted with commentary about the husband, he lashed out on Instagram, denying there was trouble in the marriage and saying he's helping with the investigation. If my wife would have seen this, she would be disappointed in your actions. You all should be ashamed of yourselves. Next time, stop and think and realize you don't know it all. Reporter Steve Campion with KTRK TV in Houston has been speaking with Tom Sharkey by phone.
I asked him about the last time that he had seen Alexis, and he said, I saw her, she was leaving, I told her not to drive under the influence, I told her not to drive intoxicated, she went anyways, and that's where we're at, is what he said. And I said, what do you mean by that? Where was she going? When you asked for specifics or you tried to ask for details, he wouldn't provide those.
A developing story that we have been following all week. A woman was reported missing, then one day later she was found dead. A social media influencer, Alexis Sharkey's mysterious death, now making national headlines. Channel 2's Bill Barajas is live on the west side where her body was found. And Bill, you spoke to someone who knew her well.
That's right. We spoke to one of her closest friends. She tells us she was horrified to learn that her body was found here along this side of this road where we are standing. They, of course, want justice for Alexis. We also contacted the Harris County Medical Examiner's Office about this case. They have yet to determine a cause of death.
No, everyone loved her. That's the crazy. Everyone loved her. She was just such like a bright light. Her giggles all the time. And that's it. Like she's never a down person.
Alexis Sharkey was well known, followed by many through her Instagram account. To close friends like Chelsea Turnbow, she was just Lex, though.
She was definitely the spirit that we needed in our friend group. She brought so much joy. She kept us all together. Never a negative person.
Sharkey was reported missing Friday night. Turnbow said Alexis's husband, Tom Sharkey, called her boyfriend and notified them.
He just said, like Lex, she left the house. We got into an argument. I don't know what's going on. Can you have the girls reach out to me?
Alexis was found dead alongside this road near the Katy Freeway on Saturday morning. Turnbow telling us her disappearance is just not adding up.
She could not just have gone somewhere missing. She would have told one of us. We were her family here. Her family lived, out of town, so we always protected her.
She tells us those who loved Alexis will continue fighting on her behalf and won't rest until whoever is responsible is put behind bars.
And since then, none of us have been able to really grieve or think about grieving her death because we all want justice for her, and that's what we're focused on right now.
And Alexis's friends had planned a memorial for later this evening. That has since been postponed. They say they want a little bit more clarity about what might have happened to Alexis before they proceed with celebrating her life. We also reached out to Tom Sharkey, Alexis's husband, about this investigation, but have not heard back from him as of news time tonight. Live in West Houston, Bill Barajas, KPRC, Channel 2 News.
Thank you, Bill.
Tonight, we are learning more about the life of social media influencer Alexis Sharkey as we wait to hear from investigators about how she died. Her body was found in West Houston over the weekend. Before moving to Houston, Alexis lived in Odessa, Texas, where she met her husband. Janelle Bluda talks to a friend who says she helped introduce the couple.
I ended up being her trainer at Twins.
They started as co-workers.
We kind of clicked, and it turned out to us hanging out all the time.
But soon became much more.
She was very open, very sweet and caring.
Before Alexis Sharkey moved to Houston, she lived in Odessa, where she worked at the restaurant Twin Peaks.
Days off, we were laying out tanning. Then we get ready, go out, have some fun.
Alexis's friend and former co-worker, who asked us not to identify her, says they were instant friends.
At the time, her and her ex-fiance were not doing so good. So I kind of stepped in, helped her get out of that.
She says it was her who helped introduce Alexis to her husband, Tom.
He was one of our regulars. He would come in, talk to us, make us laugh. They clicked. And just watching them click and they're laughing, they're smiling, and I was like, all right.
Alexis eventually moved, but the two kept in touch, and she followed Alexis's journey and success on social media.
I was proud of her. She went out there and she did something where she could still travel and see the world all while influencing other people's lives.
But when she heard the news of Alexis's tragic death,
Like, it's not okay what happened to her. It's not.
her heart stopped.
I've never met anyone with the purest soul until I met her.
And now she, like so many others, just wants to know what happened.
I hope her family gets what they need.
And what they need is answers, which is what they hope to get once the autopsy is complete. We're still waiting to hear when that will happen. Lynn?
The medical examiner is still working to determine the cause of death for 26-year-old Alexis Sharkey. Her body was found Saturday on the side of a West Houston road. As detectives work to find out what happened, Alexis's friends are sharing more about the social media influencer and her life before she moved to Houston.
Like, when I saw her, I was like, I told her in private, I was like, she's radiating. Like, I'm so proud of you.
They're the words Brittany Pember will always remember.
That's when I first got to meet her.
Spoken to her by a friend she'll never forget.
She was just like the light of the room. Like, she was just so smart and just so funny.
Brittany has known Alexis Sharkey for a couple years now. The two met through their work with Monet, a company that sells hair and skincare products, where Brittany says Alexis worked her way to the top, becoming executive director.
She worked her butt off to get where she was.
Alexis met so many of her friends through Monet and her many work trips.
I got that. Nice.
That's where she also met Lauren.
She's grown to be such a good friend to me, and I just can't believe she's gone.
Lauren says before Houston, Alexis once lived in Midland, Odessa, and that's where she met her husband, Tom. She says the two moved to Grand Junction, Colorado for about 4 months in 2019.
I know she absolutely loved it, and just traveling and being with her friends and exploring was her favorite things in the entire world.
And she says the couple moved to Houston this past January.
So I don't think everyone understands how good at ziplining we are.
But now detectives are trying to find out what went wrong.
I mean, without a doubt in my mind, foul play was involved, and this was a murder.
How this vibrant young life ended so soon. In Houston, Janelle Blue to KHOU 11 News.
We are continuing to follow this developing story. We'll be sure to keep you updated with any new information right here on KHOU 11, on our KHOU app, and our website, khou.com.
County medical examiner is working to determine how Alexis Sharkey died. The social media influencer's body was found Saturday along a West Houston road. Melissa Correa has more on what police are working on today.
A pair of HPD homicide detectives were back out in West Houston today. This side street along I-10 is where the body of Alexis Sharkey was discovered by a city crew Saturday morning. Detectives spent time today reviewing surveillance video captured by this camera on a local business. Police are hoping something on that video will help them figure out what happened to Alexis Sharkey. The 26-year-old was popular on social media, mentoring her thousands of followers about beauty and wellness. The Pennsylvania native moved to Houston with her husband in January.
They lived in down in West Texas before this.
Friend Tanya Ricardo spent Thanksgiving with Alexis and says this may be the last photo of her friend alive.
We're all just very confused. We need answers.
Houston police say Alexis Sharkey was last seen in front of her apartment complex Friday. Police first talked to Sharkey's husband when she was reported missing Saturday afternoon. Homicide detectives say they've also spoken to Sharkey's husband and confirm he's cooperating with their investigation. Meanwhile, friends are using a crowdfunding campaign to raise money for Alexis's family and funeral, while the hashtag Justice for Alexis Sharkey is growing in use as more people want to know what happened to Alexis Sharkey.
Details tonight in the death of a Houston social media influencer. 26-year-old Alexis Sharkey's body was found Saturday on Houston's west side in the Energy Corridor. Channel 2's Jacob Rascone is live off the Katy Freeway tonight near Eldridge with the newest information. Jacob?
Yeah, Chris, they found her body here on this road on Saturday, and it wasn't identified as her until today. The medical examiner, though, has not yet determined a cause of death, and her mother is convinced this is no accident. In the days before she disappeared, Alexis Sharkey and her mother were planning their Christmas vacation.
Thanksgiving happened. Message back and forth. You know, your typical miss you, love you, happy Thanksgiving, have a great day type of thing.
On Saturday, after reporting her missing to Houston police, Alexis's husband and friends called her family in Pennsylvania.
We haven't heard from her since 6 o'clock and last night, and the one friend says I ran over to our apartment and she's not there and we were supposed to meet up. You know, when you start to hear these stories that you just know that's not right, something's wrong.
A garbage truck driver called police Saturday morning after discovering a naked woman's body on the side of the road without any visible injuries. On Monday, the medical examiner determined it was Alexis.
We are wrecked. We are completely wrecked. The family is just so devastated. Her cousins, her sisters, her 13-year-old sister.
Alexis grew up Lex or Lexi in northwestern Pennsylvania, the oldest of 3 sisters, a biology major who became a social media influencer only recently. Her mother is convinced her daughter was murdered.
But when you know it was done on purpose, it just takes it a whole degree deeper in your pain and in even resolution.
We reached out to the medical examiner's office, who said a cause of death will not be determined today, but perhaps later this week. We also reached out to Alexis's husband, who said he was not ready to comment at this time. Reporting live in Houston, I'm Jacob Rascone, KPRC Channel 2 News.
Instagram influencer Alexis Sharkey has been found dead in Houston after family and friends feared she was missing. According to local news station KHOU 11, police say that Alexis's nude body was found off the side of a road on Saturday. An investigation into her death is reportedly ongoing. The 26-year-old's mother tells the station that she was notified about her daughter's disappearance from Alexis's husband, Tom. She says that Alexis was supposed to meet up with friends to watch movies on Saturday, but wasn't responding to phone calls or texts, and that she was last heard from on Friday evening. Now, her mother tells KHOU 11 that she believes Alexis was murdered, saying that she trusts her mother's gut. Alexis and Tom moved to Houston in January. A friend tells the outlet that the couple have been going through a rough patch in their relationship, saying that Alexis told her they were filing for divorce. Tom has shared several posts on Facebook grieving the loss of his wife, writing in part, quote, "You made life so incredible, made sense of my existence, my purpose, and showed me how to truly love." A GoFundMe campaign has been created to raise money for Alexis's memorial.
We turn now to the death of a young Texas woman who was a popular figure on social media. She worked as an influencer on Instagram, and she was found dead on the side of the road naked. Her mother believes she was murdered.
Alexis Sharkey found dead along this road in Houston Saturday. Her friends say she feared for her safety in recent weeks, worried about someone close in her life, but not elaborating.
I looked at her and I was like, she's petrified. This girl is scared for her life.
Alexis's mother saying she believes her daughter was murdered.
From what I've been able to gather, as well as a mother's gut, I learned very young as a mom to trust my gut. And it's not let me down.
On Saturday, Alexis's husband called her mother to say Alexis was missing. Reporter Steve Campion from our Houston station spoke to him.
Quite honestly, it was a strange conversation. He was very upset. He said that he had been talking to detectives, that he did everything in his power to find his wife, but he abruptly ended the conversation, hanging up on me, in fact, saying he did not want us to contact him again.
Alexis's mother posting to Facebook, writing, "Please help us find her and bring her home safely. We are so very desperate. Please share." But a garbage truck worker finding Alexis's body. Authorities say she had no visible injuries.
Alexis's mom said the two talked just last week about Christmas plans. The cause of her death is pending an autopsy.
Well, this morning, people across the country want answers in the sudden death of a popular social media influencer. Alexis Sharkey had been living here in Houston for less than a year. Michelle Choi has more from friends and the very latest on the investigation.
Hey, good morning. It's been 5 days now since Alexis Sharkey's body was discovered on the side of a road in West Houston. Since then, so many of you, her friends, family, and people from across the country have been paying tribute online to the social media influencer. Everyone anxiously waiting to find out what happened to her. One thing for sure, the 26-year-old was loved by a lot of people. She not only mentored thousands of followers on her Instagram page, but those close to her described Sharkey as someone who was full of life.
Everyone understands.
And a good friend.
You guys are missing out on like a true friend. She would have done anything for anybody.
So how did Sharkey end up dead? The medical examiner still hasn't ruled on her cause of death. We do know Sharkey moved to Houston with her husband back in January from West Texas. That's where friends say the two met. We've also learned he's the one who identified her body after it was discovered by a city worker on Saturday. Houston homicide detectives are now going through surveillance video found in the area, hoping it leads them to some answers. Meanwhile, Sharkey's mom has told us she doesn't believe her daughter's death was an accident, and neither do her friends.
Without a doubt in my mind, foul play was involved and this was a murder.
There was plans for a public memorial this evening to honor Sharkey, but it's being rescheduled. Guys.
Michelle Troy with the very latest. Thank you. And we are following this story, this heartbreaking story, every step of the way. And we'll bring you any new updates on KHU.com and on our KHU 11 mobile app.